Continuing with this more sort of contemporary sort of questions which have been raised, we've in part touched on this already, and Jahangir Saab, if I could come to you for the next question. It's from Kamran Anis. Thank you, Jazakallah Kamran, from Bradford. He writes, could you enlighten us on the difference between Islamic clothes and non-Islamic clothes? We've had in part a discussion on this, on one of modesty, but perhaps answering that question quite specifically.
Well, first of all, I'd like to point out that there's no such thing as Islamic clothes and non-Islamic clothes as such. So it's not like we can go into some shop and say, oh, these are Islamic clothes and these are not. What Allah says in the Quran about the best kind of clothes is that it's the libasut taqwa, which is the clothes of righteousness, of fearing God, of God-fearing. And Allah says that you have to have that in you, and if you do, then that's the best garment or raiment for you. But after that, we've already touched upon the issues of modesty. We've touched upon the question of what message we're actually giving out with our attire. So these we've already answered. So basically, any kind of clothing which will not give out the wrong message, and I'm sure everybody here understands what the wrong message means, will be Islamic, or not in the sense as they're asking here, but it will be acceptable for a Muslim, will be decent enough for a Muslim to wear. This will vary from culture to culture, obviously. But in every set of clothing, you can always find some which are more modest and some which are less modest. Like, for example, somebody could, in the West, the men wear trousers, for example, or for our American viewers, there'd be pants, but they might be slightly, baggier, or more ample, and that would hide the shape of the body in a better way and would be more modest. If somebody would prefer to go for very tight-fitting jeans, for example, that would not be as modest. So a lot of it has to do with common sense, and similar would be the case of a lady. Obviously, we have Europeans who have accepted Islam, and their culture is something which is primarily based on the European way of seeing things here. They have to find a way between their own culture and another culture, whichever culture that may be. It could be Indonesian, could be Arab, could be anything. They have to find somewhere in between. Yeah. So they should just use their common sense and choose, and that's what they do. This is what ladies do. Sort
of opens up all kinds of questions on fashion and setting sort of standards. I think perhaps erroneously sometimes it's suggested that the ways the Arab world dresses, for example, indeed the other Muslim world things like shalwar kameez, for example, is perceived as a more Islamic dress. There's a difference here, isn't there, between the cultural issue and the religious issue. And I think, Islam is a universal faith, and it doesn't really matter where you hail from culturally.
Exactly. It reminds me, once I actually went to pray in a non-Ahmadi mosque after their prayer had been completed. I went to say mine. I was in Paris. It was time for prayer, so I went, and I arrived a little late. So I said my prayer, and I noticed there was somebody, out of the corner of my eye, I could perceive somebody watching me. And when I'd finished my prayer, he came up to me, and because I was dressed, as a European, I had, a shirt on, I had trousers on, and I'd bought my cap, so I was praying with that. So he came, and he thought I was maybe a new convert to Islam, and he was very happy and said that I welcome you here, most welcome, you should come every day. He said also you should wear a jalaba, when you come for prayer. I told him, okay, I'll do that, and next time I come, I'll come sitting on a camel eating dates as well. And he was a bit taken aback by that. So I explained, and I said that, do you mean to say that if I don't wear a jalaba, for example, my prayer won't be accepted? I'm wearing perfectly decent clothes here, and my prayer will be accepted. It has nothing to do with jalabas or shalwar kameez or whatever, jubbas. That has nothing to do with it. So common sense should be used in all these cases.
I think that's often forgotten, and I think from maybe a sort of final word for our youth in this as well, that the appropriateness of your attire, for example, when you come to the mosque, we've talked about the appropriateness of clothing earlier as well, that it's not just a thing for women or men. Equally, a young man turning up in a tight T-shirt and a tight pair of jeans for prayer at the mosque is inappropriate.
Sure, he should be fully clothed, as we have said, and as Jahangir Sahib has fully explained, in a modest manner. So skin-tight jeans and hugging jeans, they should not be worn. They're too revealing, and also it makes it difficult for you to say your prayers in something like that when you have to go down in sajda and so on. And also come to the mosque, certainly with clothes, but without any writing or pictures on them. So that is important, that this should not become a distraction for other people who are praying around you, that you come with T-shirts with pictures and so on them. That should not be the case. But dress modestly, clean clothes, all Islamic, as well as long as they are modest in that respect.
Could I just add in one little thing
Of
as
course,
we're here, because it's a golden opportunity for the youth. I would like to add in hairstyles here as well, because I would advise the Muslim youth to not go for those hairstyles which will make putting a cap on their heads difficult. Because there are certain hairstyles which are so, dense maybe, or spread out, that when they put the cap on their head, it falls off during the prayer. So that's obviously not common sense. They should go for something in the middle way, something more, appropriate to their faith as well.
I'll keep my cap on so you can see.
Jazakallah, I think that applies to all of us, Dr. Saab. Well, there you go, Kamran. I think the question was quite a broad one, but in the answer, it's one very much of common sense. Designer labels are allowed as long as they don't sort of attract attention to themselves, and we even heard Jahangir Saab saying a word or two about hairstyles there as well. But the important thing, I think, in summary, is very much there is no right or wrong. The right and wrong is very much down to the application of modesty and appropriateness of your clothing, as we've heard from our distinguished panel.